It is getting close to bewitching now. January 15th, 2024. Second item is approved minutes of January 2nd, 24 board meeting. Motion by Derek, second by Russ. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Same sign? No. Motion carries. Citizens' comments? Doesn't look like we have any. Approval of bid from Cold Springs for a new columbarium at Hillside Cemetery, presented by Justin Casperson, Director of Park Work and Recreation. Dustin?
Oh, Andy's mic. Come on, David. As you're trying to be a hero, we're going to continue on. It's cold outside. So I'm looking for approval of the bid from Cold Spring for a columbarium at Hillside Cemetery. In December, you guys gave permission for us to go out and seek bids. We only received one bid. Last time we did this in 2020, we received actually 3 bids, and a low bid we actually had to disqualify and keep their bid bond because they couldn't meet our specifications. Columbariums themselves can be built on many structures or materials. It can be built out of steel, granite, marble, asphalt, aluminum, you name it. They can kind of be pretty diverse in how they're built. We stay consistent since our 2010 project, which was built out of marble, and then the inside is concrete. So we have the same kind of design as the Catholics, Lutherans, and our previous 2 columbariums. So we're trying to stay consistent. And that way we can compare apples to apples rather than kind of apples to orange. And then we don't get a substandard material. And these are final resting places, so they hopefully are perpetual, and our city doesn't have to deal with them in the next 50 to 100 years. So we got one bid from Cold Spring in the amount of $33,734. It was budgeted for $55,000, and then it's repaid through the sales of that at full throughout the process. So tonight I'm looking for approval for the Cold Spring bid of $33,734.
Motion by Mike, by Derek. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Derek?
Justin, I was just hoping, so this has come up a couple of times now where I've seen that we've only gotten one bid back. And I'm not suggesting that we're doing anything wrong, but I'm just curious if you can kind of walk me through the process a little bit. Like how many bidders are we sending it out to? How long are we giving them to send in a bid? Are we hearing anything from the people that aren't bidding, or are they just not sending in a number? And then like, is there a deadline that we're shooting to hit, or like a drop dead date that we have to have these bid numbers by? So when we do bids, we usually follow state statute, and that requires a type 2 notice in which you put it in a paper twice, your local newspaper. Our local newspaper is recognized as Marshfield News Herald. We also contact any other bids or companies who have maybe expressed interest in this project before. So bidders from 2010 as well as 2020. Obviously, we're not going to send it to a company like Nikolai, Bozen, or Marwood because they don't do anything like that. So we'll send that directly to them, and then we may follow up with phone calls or conversations. We actually have a local company right in town called Miller Monument that does similar stuff like this, but Miller Monument can't provide this. They essentially buy it from Cold Spring and then resell it. So they're more of a secondary approach, a middleman or a broker. And they have done it, and they do it with other cemeteries. A lot of the other religious cemeteries don't have to follow like a public bidding process. They just buy the same
columbarium over and over and over again. And you try to stay consistent with your columbariums. You don't want to vary them significantly, then it's hard to sell them, or it's hard to know what kind of product you're going to get. We've been very happy with our columbarium. Dan Rogers is here with me tonight. He's our assistant park superintendent and our cemetery sexton. So I wanted to make sure he was here in case you had any detailed questions. So typically, for a notice, it's a type 2 notice, 2 weeks. We have a deadline. It's a sealed bid deadline. And then we contact all the companies who've submitted to us before, and then we'll reach out and talk to them afterwards. And usually it's a time and materials type issue. We can't accommodate it, or we just don't provide that product itself. I can't remember the name of the company. I think it was Wilbur or Wilbert Memorials, not Wilbur Vault, but a different company. And they provided us an all concrete columbarium, and they had to forfeit their bid bond of 5% of their bid last time because they couldn't provide the actual specs. They did not follow the specs. So they have to follow our specs to have apples to apples. Otherwise, we don't know what we're going to get as a city, whether that's steel, aluminum, concrete. So this is marble with a concrete interior, so it stays consistent. I think I answered maybe all of your questions, Derek.
Yeah, I think the only one that was left is like, is there a drop dead date that was this just a deadline that we were shooting for to have bids by this date, or was this the minimum, or was this like the drop dead date? Like if we don't get the bids now and get moving on this, then we're going to miss.
No, it's a sealed bid process. So if it's not turned in by that date and time, we can't accept them afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
And that's common with almost all of our bids. I mean, Mr. Turchi can probably explain a little bit more, but that's pretty common, whether it's a road project, a construction project, like with a building or a park facility. It's usually a sealed bid timeframe submission.
Thank you.
I've got a question. This bid is at 33. How does that compare with the last time we bought?
It's not quite apples to apples. The other one was a larger one. So I think it was 129, this one's 96, so it's smaller. So they usually come in like tandem or doubles or singles, and these are mostly singles, right? So it's a mix. So it's not quite like the numbers and units are not the same. It's a little bit different. So this is a little bit smaller. In our opinions, it's higher, but it's staying with industry trends of being higher. And that's now a 4-year-old bid. Our budget was 55. We still have concrete and foundation work to do. So we work with the local contractors on that foundation work. Last time Nikolai did it. Then we have a crane come in. Nikolai brought in the crane, unloads it, does all of that to get it assembled and kind of put it together.
My questions are because I'm trying to get one in for the Field of Honor, and I got to get working on them.
Yeah, and the luxury for you is you can just pick one vendor and just work with them on your size and scope, where we have to kind of follow this bidding process.
The only difference between this one and the one we're probably going to do is I like the color of the doors. I don't like the gray. But having worked in the business for 25 years, I know the ins and outs of it. So I think mine would be all brown, I think.
I'm not going to get into colors. I got a wife that can do that for me.
Ooh. She just heard you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying, oh, I don't have a motion.
I think Mike motioned and I seconded.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
Now you threw me a curve. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, a request for approval to solicit bids for construction of a new pickleball court at Graham Park, presented by Justin Casperson, Director of Public Works. Justin, yeah.
Thanks again. This is a solicitation or a request to go out and solicit bids for the construction of new pickleball courts at Graham Park. I think most of you have heard a lot of positive comments, a lot of positive feedback from the community on this project. It's going to be removal of those 4 old tennis courts, as well as some fencing, and then installing new asphalt pickleball courts with paint and lines, as well as lights, new fencing, sidewalk around there, drain tile, undercutting everything and putting in new material. This is part of an overall a revitalization of that park, which includes new restrooms, a new pavilion, playground, softball field, and parking lot. That's going to occur over the next, 4 to 5 years. We've been working with the pickleball group, and they've been out talking with various business and stakeholders. Their goal is to raise $300,000 to help with this project. So whatever our bids come back, I assume, not only with the city's contribution, but these private contributions, we should be able to cover those costs. In addition, I'm hoping the pickleball people will assist with the other aspects in that park. That's the pavilion, the restrooms, parking lot, things of that nature, so we can keep leaning on them and they keep assisting us. Because I think it's really important that you build a top-notch facility, but you also have top-notch facilities are surrounding it. So if we have a really nice pickleball court, but a not so good parking lot or a not so good pavilion, that's not quite what we're shooting for. So we're hoping that the pickleball group will continue fundraising. So what I'm asking for tonight is your permission to go out and solicit bids for the construction of new pickleball courts and bring back for your consideration.
So moved. Seconded. Fine, Brian can have it.
Did you? Any discussion?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So when you write up the bid proposal for something like this, do you give the contractor the option to donate in kind?
We cannot. If they want, they can do that ahead of time. But once the bids are out, it's not really fair what that in kind is. Like labor costs, one man's labor cost is different to another man's. Okay. If they're interested, usually local companies have expressed interest. We have accepted in-kind donations ahead of time. Like, I want to donate lights. Well, we'll spec those lights out. We'll take those completely out of the project. That way, it's already been spoken for. Okay. But after their bids are done, we usually don't do in-kind type donations because it's very difficult to then follow the public bidding process or the public bidding laws, trying to compare apples to apples.
Thank you.
Derek?
So I'm just going to preface this with saying if any of the pickleball people watch this meeting, please don't come at me. I don't understand it yet. Like, I haven't jumped into pickleball, so I don't know. I see the court differences, but I don't really get it. So I'm curious, so this is like, I've seen the tennis courts being used as pickleball courts. Will these be kind of like a dual purpose type thing, or is it like pickleball only?
Pickleball only.
Okay. And I have no problems with that. I think with as hot as pickleball is right now, this is going to be great for the community. But I am just curious, like, it seems like it's kind of a trend that's popped up, which is not a bad thing. But as we know with trends, they sometimes come and then they go. Do we know, like, on average, like, from what you've seen in your Parks and Rec experience, like, how long trends tend to last like this? Like, my only thought on stuff like this is it just gets scary to long-term invest in these things, even if we have donors and help to, like, dedicate a park to pickleball, and then in, like, 3 years, nobody plays pickleball. I mean, I still think it'll be great. I'm definitely not concerned about that, but I'm just curious the thought process behind those things. Like, do we do, like, trend analysis type stuff, or? Yeah,
it has been probably 3 years running the most popular sport, the most popular growing sport in the world. It's now growing. It used to be essentially an old person's sport, a senior sport, something you see in retirement communities. Now kids are playing it, adults are playing it. There's now private business are putting up pickleball bars and restaurants. So 2, 3, 4 courts in a restaurant, you play and then hang out. I think sustainability for this sport will continue on. It's a very social sport. It's not traditional, like, I'm going to go play Mike and then that's it. You keep playing for hours, and they always say next 4 up. So you play, you go and sit, and then you mix your groups up, and then you play again. So the skill level obviously can be significant, but I think it's playability, meaning we can all play, and it's a small surface, like playing like ping pong or tennis on that type of facility. I anticipate it to be around for a significantly long time. And I think our pickleball group may have mentioned it last week. Lake Halley's putting in a 16-court complex and a 500-seat stadium at their park. So that's just released this month that they're putting in that size of a complex. Now it's on ESPN and all the others. I would say, the investment is not significant. We've had a hardball surface there, tennis. We could replace it with a combination, but pickleball is really popular. This is really going to help with our economy, not significantly, but it's going to help bring tourism here with tournaments and playability. And the bigger complex you have, the more people come because of that social aspect. The smaller it is, there's so much waiting. That's their complaint right now is they wait 20 to 30 minutes just to play a match because there's so many more people ahead of them. And they typically will have anywhere from 40 to 50 at the Y or at Oak Avenue in the summer. They expect it to probably go closer to 100 during the week.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I'm glad that we're revitalizing this park, and it's also like a fantastic location for that. Thank you.
Yep, I echo that. Good questions. How would you compare maintenance of the pickleball courts, both from a time perspective and a cost perspective? Any visibility of that?
It's one of our easier maintenance things because there's obviously no grass cutting. We don't remove snow from it.
I'm sorry, I meant to say compared to tennis courts.
Oh, the same. I would say it's the same construction, the same materials used underneath, the same asphalt. It's just a little different layout for colors and design. So
about every, 6-8 years?
I would say about every 10 years. The pickleball group want a perpetual care fund at the foundation to help with resurfacing it in the future. Instead of having to come and ask the city to resurface this, they want to be able to be a partner and provide that resource and say, okay, we got $50,000, we want to resurface this. Rather than us always kind of fighting against ourselves, whether we got to fix Oak Avenue or fix the university or fix these, they will already have some funds already set aside for that type of service. That's what they're going out to do right now is trying to have kind of a perpetual care. So if the nets start to deteriorate, they're going to want to replace that. If windscreens start to break, which they will, they'll want to replace those things too. And they're going to want to be more of a supporter. They're going to have membership like program so they can keep it up like a top-notch facility rather than kind of waiting for the city because we have to balance everything.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Anybody else? All those in favor signify by saying
Aye.
Aye.
those opposed. Motion carries. Number 6, award bids for sanitary sewer lining contracts for 2023-02, presented by Tom Tershi, Director of Public Works.
Okay, bids were open for the above project on Monday, January 8th, 2024. We received one bid for this work. The low bid was submitted by Visu Sewer of Pewaukee, Wisconsin in the amount of $436,038.60. Note we have seen unit prices rise approximately 33% for items we typically bid as compared to the contract we last let in 2019. This equates to approximately 11% increase per year since the last contract. We looked at the items that were set up for sanitary sewer, which was $344,469.60, and that fits within the budgeted project. And then we looked at the items that we're doing with storm sewer this year. This year is the first time that we're doing storm sewer items with sanitary sewer lining. And that came in at $91,569, and that fits within the budget of the items that we had for that. When we talk about bidding for sanitary sewer lining in 2019, we had approximately a $1.3 million contract. So we used to combine our contracts on a biannual basis and double up our work. And that last contract, if I recall, we had 5 bidders on it. This contract, if you remember a few weeks ago, we went and did pre-qualification, and we had 2 contractors that were pre-qualified to bid on this project. The contractor that actually bid is the closest to us. So this one also requires a Class 2 notice. We had to put it in the Marshfield News Herald. Although I doubt that any of the contractors that bid on this kind of work even look at the Marshfield News Herald. So what we do when we bid projects for engineering and public works is we actually put it on the Quest CDN website. And that is a website that is kind of a national website. We've had companies out of Milwaukee, out of Iowa, Illinois, and other locations that bid on these types of projects. What we do in that bidding process is we actually type in, we're looking at sanitary sewer lining. anyone that is queued in that has that type of work for their company gets a notification automatically from CDN, and then they're aware of that project. My best guess is that because of the size of our project this year being quite a bit less than what we've seen in previous years, there was a lot less interest in our project. So I just want to make sure you're aware of how we go about doing that for our bigger projects. So even when we do a street project or anything like that, those go on to the Quest CDN website. So they're made available, and we have a whole list of different types of construction work that are being done so that the contractors, you can get a more wider array of contractors. So from that, I would recommend that the contract 2023-02 sanitary sewer lining be awarded to the low bidder of Vision Sewer LLC of Pewaukee, Wisconsin in the amount of $436,038.60, and to authorize the execution of a contract.
Motion by Derek. And by Mike. Any questions?
Just out of curiosity, how did that come in with the budget? What was budgeted for it?
Well, for the storm sewer items, I actually budgeted one of the projects to do a dig and replace, and I budgeted at $165,000. That one came in at $81,000, so there's a savings there. And the other one was not just a standalone project next to Wildwood Court to fix a line that we've talked about in the past. And that was I estimated that one to be about $10,000. It was within $200 of what I estimated. So we do have enough money to cover those. We may have to make some minor repairs, which we would be working with the low contractor to make any repairs before they actually do the lining. In both instances with this type of lining process, it's typically you start it in the morning and it's done by the end of the day and we're done with the work.
We have a film, right?
I was trying to find that film.
If I'd like to see it. If we have a week, Valley Perks, we watch it. But it's really cool. It shows how they do it, how they go in, cut all the mains out and all this. It's kind of interesting to watch. I thought I saw it 10 years ago, but
I think I had it on VHS at that time.
Oh, you might have a problem now. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Award bid for the 2024 crushing and stockpiling of asphalt, concrete salvage material presented by Tim Rasmussen, Superintendent Street. Tim?
Good evening. The City of Marshfield collects salvage materials from internal and contracted projects each year. The material collected through the 2023 construction season will be a value resource again here in the placement of internal and contracted jobs for 2024. The materials get used in replace of considerably more costly earthen material that would otherwise need to be purchased from nearby contractors that own or operate pits. For example, in 2023, after a significant amount of underground work on the Edison and Vine project over by Becker and Daggy area, the street division used 534 yards of DOT spec recycled crushed concrete and 2,670 yards of DOT spec recycled asphalt to rebuild those roads, rebuild the road base of both of those projects. At approximately 2/3 the price of earthen material, the savings of that project alone was $22,000. Likewise, if the material to be crushed was not crushed for reuse, it would need to be disposed of in other costly ways. Crushing instead of disposing of this material has been a practice of the city for over 25 years. As the DOT has created specifications and guidance for the materials to be crushed, it has become a more common practice amongst many municipalities, counties, and private contractors and the DOT to substitute recycled materials for earthen materials. The 2024 crushing RFP was posted in the Marshfield News Herald Legals and sent to 14 crushing contractors. 5 bids were received along with 1 notification of decline of submittal. The low bid was PGA Incorporated of Weston, Wisconsin. This would be the first contract with PGA Inc., but upon review of PGA's proposal, conversations with other municipalities they have done work for recently, and a discussion with Kurt from PGA about their crushing process, equipment, and timeline, I recommend the Board of Public Works award the 2024 crushing and stockpiling asphalt and concrete salvage materials to the low bidder of PJ Inc. of Weston and authorize execution of a contract.
Motion by Eric. Any discussion?
I'll just say thanks for the overview, analysis, and recommendation. I'm glad you did do a little bit deeper dive on PGA, just to verify that they're legit. And I'll also take an opportunity to thank you and the street department crew for the snow removal. Nice job.
Thank you.
Well executed.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Any recommended items for future agendas? Motion to adjourn?
I will motion.
One guy that wants to leave.
What?
One guy wants to leave over there.
We're adjourned. Thank you, John.